I have a call at 7 p.m. But
7 p.m. Okay.
But yeah, please feel free to go ahead.
So when is your second shot?
The 22nd, 2 weeks from today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, looking forward to. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm like trying to convince myself to not go out until 2 weeks after Monday when I had my second shot.
Right. Yeah, I mean, same. I mean, the amount of going out that I've been doing has been no different than what I've been doing in the sense of like since this whole thing started, which is just, helping take care of my mom when she needs it, going to the supermarket. I got a haircut a couple of times, with a couple of exceptions aside from that. Like that's been it. So I'm really looking forward. So I'm looking forward to being able to, see my friends and like people I care about and get big hugs from people who have also been vaxxed. So, and just hopefully start returning to life again.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the barbershop thing is interesting because I don't remember if those are considered safe or if they're considered like critical at all.
What?
Barbershops.
Barbershops?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I mean, I hear you. Well, the way that I've been doing it with the person who cuts my hair is that it's literally just like one-on-one.
Okay.
There's like nobody else in the space.
Yeah.
So, and we're both wearing masks the whole time.
That's good.
Yeah. So that's what happened with that. I understand the concern about barbershops in that way, though. Yeah, because that's not.
I did get one cut last year, and it was like early in the morning before anyone was there. But by the time my cut was finished, there were people starting to come in, but they were like more like on the other side of the room, kind of.
Yeah.
But I still told myself I would probably not do it again until things were a lot safer.
Sure. No, I hear you, and that's why. Yeah, I hear you, and I completely agree. Yeah, there were only a couple of instances where I went out and saw people outside of that routine. Everything else has been just FaceTime and Zoom and Google Meet. So
after 2 weeks after I had my second shot,
yeah,
is that kind of thing now considered okay, or is it more like I'm okay around other vaccinated people?
Around other vaccinated people, from what I understand. Personally, I'm not really sure why you wouldn't just be okay to go in general, because if you've been vaxxed twice, supposedly that's supposed to be your immunization shots, right? So you can't spread it to anyone else. And if you've been vaccinated, then you shouldn't be able. The whole point is that it's supposed to prevent you from catching it, right? So
well, that's a thing where I think people are not really up on the science. It's not really like that until herd immunization. I think the idea is you can still catch it, which is why it's bad. Like when all those like pseudoscientists, like suburban people especially, like don't believe in vaccinating their kids. They like ruin it for everyone else, even though other people themselves are vaccinated. It's still dangerous in groups.
Right. Well, I mean, this vaccine hasn't been approved for kids yet, so kids cannot get vaccinated at this time yet, right now, anyway. But yeah, as far as that goes,
kids withstanding. It's still like a herd
Right.
immunity thing.
Right. And that can only either happen when by either everybody getting vaccinated or everyone catching it and like developing antibodies to it. So,
Right.
yeah, one way or the other. That's our way. That is our way out of this. And I mean, as far as that goes, yeah, I'm definitely kind of have to laugh at like people who are not trained scientists, but will think they know exactly what they need to do to protect themselves based on reading a couple of tweets and watching a couple of YouTube videos.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not interested. Yeah, like we're, whatever you are in terms of anti-vaxxing, like we're in the middle of a pandemic now. This is not like, not wanting, I don't know. It's probably there's probably the same logic, but nevertheless, this is like, I mean, we're already like over 500,000 dead in this country and millions around the world. So I don't know what more information people like those need.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like when you were young and you do something stupid, sometimes you just have to be called out on it. I mean, you could try to like dress it up and make people feel good about themselves, but at the end of the day, sometimes you just gotta like call people out on their unwillingness to take in information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think the problem is everyone thinks their opinion counts, and it's like these people were not, passing notes in class and socializing and having a good time and being cool and doing all the things that young people like to do. They were like studying really hard, getting into the next school and putting in a lot of hours and being nerds and studying this stuff, so that the brightest minds in the world could like figure this stuff out.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why, like, all of a sudden people want to act like that stuff doesn't matter. It's like not everyone has a scientific mind, or obviously not even the training to like come up with this stuff.
Agreed. But I think their resistance to it has to do with what they perceive to be a politicization or politicization. I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing it right.
Yeah.
Science and the scientific fields, and what they believe in, and what now people are telling them that that certain scientific truths, or what are perceived to be scientific truths, are actually is actually propaganda used by a political party to trying to push a certain agenda. So
right, to take your freedoms away.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yep. And I'm all for obviously, protecting individual freedoms is of paramount importance. But if you want to risk your own life, or whatever it is, if you want like pursuing your own whatever, like, power to you. But if what you're doing is potentially risking the lives of others, that's more than just ignorance. That's like a certain amount of recklessness. So, and just not caring,
Right.
because if you can do that, anyone else can. And so you could easily hurt someone in that way, just the same way that somebody could hurt you. And you're not, and I feel people aren't even thinking about it that way.
Right.
Really scary. I
How
find
would
that
you feel? How would you feel if the government started doing like mass aerial sprays?
I'd be frightened. I'd be a little frightened.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you?
I mean, not necessarily.
Why
I
not?
mean, they probably wouldn't be very effective though. A mass
Oh, I
aerial
mean, but
spray.
mass aerial sprays, like for what?
Oh, well, because like, you know, for all the people who won't take the vaccines.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't.
I know it sounds bad.
Well, it freaks me out because I mean, yeah, I mean that. Well, that's the thing, though. That does bother me because until we have a government that's completely transparent,
Yeah, when do they
I
decide to
think that,
use it? I mean,
there's no way to really guarantee that you will know everything that is put in the spray. And I feel like you have I feel that's like, that isn't fair. Like, it's
right.
just not fair because that's literally, there's one thing with like, that is a totally different thing. A vaccine is something that like, oh, it goes into your body and it affects only you when you take it. Or the people directly around you. Like, the aerial spray affects everybody, whether they want to take it or like that's no choice. You're entering a territory now where everyone is being forced to do something, literal. And it's not even a sense of like, oh, you have to get this shot. It's like, you don't even have a choice. You have no choice. You can't even make a decision anymore because you're literally going to be breathing it in.
Right.
There's nothing you can do about it. So that freaks me out a little bit.
Well, what if it were bad enough that we literally did need everyone to take it, whether they wanted to or not? And if it were that dire and that people just didn't understand and were putting the rest of us in jeopardy? Like, at what point does that argument fall flat about people's rights to not do something that will like hurt other people unnecessarily?
I mean,
there's got to be some point.
yeah, but I don't think advocating for like, yeah, but this is okay, but we're hunkering down, but I mean, okay, we're hunkering down now, but that is kind of like heading towards like a bad dystopian science fiction novel, like in the future where everyone has to be. It's really weird. I mean,
well, see, here's my problem. I'm asking a simple question, and the problem I have in this country is people do not face reality very well, right? Like, when you talk to people, and my thoughts on this have changed, so I can't be like put in a box on this issue. But when you talk to people about, bearing arms and the types of weapons that people have access to, people always go into this, well, the government could, be tyrannical towards us and this and that. And that's fine. But during the conversation, you're talking about things that we've actually been facing on a day-to-day basis, like school shootings and lives that have been lost on a daily basis, innocent lives. And people cannot face you in that way in a conversation, so they have to go in a fantasy world and talk about something that could happen, right? So it's the same thing in the conversation we're having now, right? Like, we're talking about some dystopian
all right, fine.
future that hasn't been written.
Okay, I hear your point. I will say, and this is how I will respond. I do not think it's a good idea for some sort of aerial spray because because there's no way to guarantee that there are people who won't have a serious allergic reaction to it.
Well, what if there is? I mean, what if that can be tested?
But again, but that's also a what if. So
right, but in my scenario, Sam, the problem is so bad that this is where we've come. See, this is what I'm afraid of. Is like people are not able to adjust their perspectives to the danger at hand. We just keep falling back to our fear. Oh, that sounds horrible. An aerial spray. Or, oh, that sounds like you're not giving people a choice. The scenario that I've proposed is it's so freaking bad that if Tom, Dick, and Harry and whatever do not get immunized, it's going to put like a major percentage of the population at risk. And so all I'm trying to see is at what point do we say, okay, at this point we would like give up those rights for the greater good. I mean, we've all done it. This country is an example of, states' rights versus federal rights. We don't want invaders coming in, taking over the nation. So we're going to give federal taxes, to the nation to protect our borders. States' rights people, aka Republicans, don't like, that nanny state or giving to the feds, but they also don't want, nations coming in, taking over our country. So like at some point we do have to give up a certain rights for security. I mean, I find it fascinating, and I think you're being super honest, and I think a lot of people feel how you feel, but I think that's scary that you're admitting that nothing, no matter how bad it is, you'd rather like let people die than
I didn't say
enforce.
that. I didn't
right.
say
I'm being provocative, obviously.
Right.
But
yeah,
no matter how bad it is, you'd rather let people die than.
No, I still didn't say that. Please don't put those words in my mouth. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. So no matter.
That's okay. I know you're being provocative, but yeah,
Okay.
we're recording this now. And, yeah.
Right. Okay. So no matter how bad it is, it's still scary for you to do something like an aerial spray or something that feels like it takes away people's choice. Is that a better way of summarizing what you were saying?
Yeah. Well, hi, Joey. What a good time for you to come in.
Away.
How's it going? How's it going, everyone?
So, no, I mean, the truth is that
Joey, just in summary, I was just doing what it took to save the nation, making the tough choices, and Sam was having difficulty adjusting.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, this is okay, since I feel like this is entirely philosophical at this point. If it gets to that point, we have to cross that bridge. I might just do it, but at this time, the thought of, I mean, obviously, like within reason, like you were saying, we pay taxes to the federal government to create a certain governmental infrastructure. So I get it, and it's not even a choice actually, because they're come and the taxes are already like taken out of our paycheck. So
Yeah,
I understand that. Right. I understand that. The idea of some sort of aerial spray being like crop dusted all over the country, and where everyone has to, so it's basically given to everybody without consent. That freaks me out a little bit. Because medical, there's, I'm not saying that the people behind it are necessarily like sinister scientists with like an alternate agenda. But
I mean, like
God
a
knows
character
that's
from
actually
the Batman trilogy.
But you know
well,
what?
not
That's
even
like,
talking about well,
Scarecrow?
if we're going to avoid fantasy now, actually,
Right.
that sort of thing has happened in real life before. So,
Like when?
like performing medical experiments on the populace. It happened in the Holocaust. It happened in this country with Tuskegee. So,
Right. So one thing about that, Sam, and those are important things and scary things to bring up. The difference is those things were done in secret. We're talking about a program, to roll out in pure transparency to save the entire nation, right? We're not talking about programs that were done on the low that no one knew about until years later, and that were only done on certain quote unquote expendable populations. We're talking about something rolled out for everyone, and we're talking about it's gotten so bad with the number of people who will willingly get vaccinated that we've had to switch to another plan, a plan B or even a C or a D, and that we've run the calculations and we've run the risks. And if we don't employ this, no matter how bad it is for someone's political career to do it, if we don't do this, a major percentage of the population will die. And like we're talking about, it's going to be bad. And like for the people who are afraid of it, like they're going to get over it because they're going to be living. And so are their kids and their grandkids. And they may talk a lot of shit, but it's purely philosophical shit that they're going to be talking versus like major deaths.
if that were the route they were to take, if they came to that extreme and that were the route they were to take, we wouldn't even know.
That's actually, I was just thinking about that. I was just thinking that might be the policy is someone might be like, well, we're going to do it, but you're not going to like how we're going to do it because we're not going to be
Because of what
transparent.
Sam said.
Right.
I mean, in order to do that, you got to violate HIPAA laws.
that's a really good point.
You got to violate HIPAA laws to do that.
Well, it gets a little bit tricky. I mean, HIPAA laws are more like giving up your information to like other entities, right? It's not like
It's consent too. It's consent for medical treatment.
okay for medical treatment. I
Right.
get what you're saying. I feel like in a pandemic there might be a different trigger. It might be considered different than medical. It might be more like under an emergency law, especially if we're going to be talking about mass death.
I mean, that's mass vaccination. That's a hard one to pull off, man. Look at the difficulty they got. They just put a notice up in my neighborhood that they're going to start going door to doors to vaccinate people.
Mm-hmm.
They shut down 3 blocks in my neighborhood. FEMA came and set up a vaccination camp. Like you can just go there and get vaccinated.
Okay.
At your choice, right? Though
it's at your choice.
Right.
And so far they got a little, the road signs, the road work signs, little LED signs that they be having for road work.
Yeah.
They got one of those up and it says 31,000 vaccinated.
Okay. And that's good. I mean, that's really nice of them to do that because I'm sure it will make it makes it a lot easier for a lot of people. And I'm sure most people want the vaccine. It makes it easier for them to get it because it had been quite difficult to actually set up an appointment. So I think that's great that they're doing that.
What if they did something like they'll forgive a warrant or something like that if you go get a
oh, I love this.
shot.
I'm getting screenplay ideas already.
It might come to that.
Because I was thinking about how people used to turn in their guns.
Yeah, it might come to that. Shoot, some people used to go to pick up a free TV they want and get arrested for child support.
Mm.
Oh my God. There's seriously, there's some people will do anything for that big screen TV. It's high def, it's HD. Everybody wants one now. It feels like you're really there. Yeah. No, this is a really, really interesting
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a good discussion.
Oh,
Yes.
I saw a couple of weeks ago that Krispy Kreme was going to
Yep.
offer you
Yes.
free
Yes.
donuts for a year if you got a shot. So that's pretty nice
really?
incentive right
Yes.
there. Yeah.
Oh my God, I have to run down and show my card to the Krispy Kreme.
Yeah. Same here.
Damn, they don't have vegan donuts there, do they?
No, they do have really good donuts.
Oh
No, but they're not vegan though.
Oh, okay,
vegan
right.
donuts.
Sorry.
Oh,
There used to be one right in Penn Station. Actually, it might still be there.
I
I'm not sure.
know. Oh my God, I gotta go to my it's like I have to I have to get my card and show it to them.
Hey,
Yeah,
Mike,
that sounds like a rough business plan. I mean, I guess
Yeah, it does.
I guess you're in there. I guess no one's gonna go in there and only pick up a free donut. I guess they know that.
But it's
they'll
like
get
it's you have to
five
you have to
more.
go down and pick it up every single day or some shit like that, right?
Right.
Whatever, I guess you could, but whatever you can. I think it's like up to a year after you got it, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're not going to go. Maybe they won't go in there every day, but it's just one donut, right?
Right. Definitely.
But yeah, but Flavy's still right. It doesn't seem like a sound business plan because they'll be inundated with like people with like vaccine cards.
That's a good point. Yeah, I don't think they anticipated just how many people were going to get vaccinated. I mean, unless they maybe, like have like, do it, as like a buy one get one free or something.
Yeah, I was
I
gonna
would
say
do
there's
that.
no caveat like
Yeah.
I would-
must buy a coffee 1st.
Mhm.
I would do that just to support them for doing this. Actually, I'd be like, all right, so I get one free. I'll buy two just so I can give you money. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I would do. I was like, I really appreciate this. You're doing great things for this country.
I mean, yeah, Krispy Kreme, who would think they would be in the business of promoting sound public health?
Right. So, like, if anyone's gonna kill you, it's gonna be us.
or is Krispy Kreme in the
exactly.
business? Or is
don't-
Krispy Kreme in the business of vaccines?
Yeah, exactly. It's like COVID. It's like, oh, don't die from COVID. Die from like diabetes and high blood pressure from eating our donuts for the next 30 years. It's like I could see if we lived in a time where cigarette advertising was still allowed. It would be like, oh, get free Lucky Strikes or free American Spirits for a whole year if you get a shot.
Right.
Yeah.
I saw a little comedy sketch like that from one of these I don't know, college humor sites or something about people's friends who do drugs all night long and always like admonish their friends for not eating healthily.
Yeah.
I always thought that was interesting because there does seem to be a thing about that. There are people who like you do certain drugs and it doesn't really make you want to eat too much. So when you do eat, it's kind of like you're eating light and healthy things,
Yeah. And also just in general, there's people who have one vice that will be very eager to shame people who have another vice. Like I
Right.
remember there was this kind of like when I was when I was in grad school for a year at the local bar in town, I remember talking to this one guy who, seemed kind of conservative, and I would always see him in the bar. And at one point he was talking about how he did like metalworking or something. And he said, I get a lot of requests for like pipes and stuff, but I really don't want to promote marijuana smoking. And I was just thinking to myself, dude, you go to a bar and get drunk like 3 times a week, but weed is bad. And yeah, like, and probably, the same thing, vice versa too. I mean, I mean, yeah, and I mean, and then, you even get people who are totally straight edge, who don't smoke or drink, but they'll like have a habit of drinking soda every day, which is, arguably worse.
Yeah, everyone's got something.
Yeah,
Everybody got vices.
exactly.
Has anyone been watching? Katie, have you been watching any of the Melly Mel interviews he's gone on recently? In the past few
No,
weeks?
not any recent interview.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe some of them are actually from a year ago, but they somehow ask him about Eminem, and he just says that he'll destroy Eminem in a rap battle. He says it'll be the easiest thing that he's ever done. It's a pretty interesting interview. He's
My
like very.
popcorn.
What's that?
So where's my popcorn?
Yeah, he never comes down from this level. It's just how he is when he talks, and he's like, if you want to say you couldn't defeat Eminem in a rap battle, you should say you, but don't put that on me. He was like, this is what I do. He was like, I've been doing this my whole life. He was like, I did this. I did what I did 40 years ago, what you're just trying to discover and figure out how to do today. And then he's got this whole argument that, well, first of all, he says there's not 50 great MCs, which is just kind of a ridiculous argument to start off with. But according to him, in order to be great, you have to drastically change what's around you. So Melly Mel was the first person to utilize the term MC, or to have the term MC refer to him. And then after him, everyone was an MC. So according to him, that makes him great because everyone wanted to do the thing that he did, which is a good argument. And it's definitely not easy to do. It's definitely a huge game changer. But then he says, if Eminem was great, then there would be like,
he on my other phone.
There would be 50 other white rappers, besides Eminem, or 50 great white rappers besides Eminem. His argument kind of
hang up the phone.
Gets a little convoluted at that point. But yeah, it was an interesting one. It was provocative. They started talking to some of Eminem's friends, but I didn't see the clip before before something happened and I got distracted or the doorbell rang or something. But because he's got some friends that are very very open, like very willing to like speak their mind, and I missed seeing what they said. And obviously he is too, but he's also respective of someone who's like a big deal in the culture. So I wonder if he's like taking his time, or if he's just not going to address it at all, or if he's going to let other people address it. Maybe there's no reason to. Maybe it's just like bait. Maybe he's just being baited and he's not interested in addressing it. It's interesting for sure, though. What did you hear any of that, KD, or were you?
I did.
Oh,
no.
Well, I was just to summarize. I was basically the idea that Melly Mel would crush Eminem in a rap battle, that it would be the easiest thing he's ever done. And they started asking Royce and other people how they felt, but I didn't get a chance to see the reactions. And I figure Eminem's probably going to chill and maybe not respond out of respect unless they keep poking the bear,
Yeah.
I feel like that's usually how it goes.
He's not going to respond to that.
Yeah.
He's not going to respond to that at all.
Yeah.
He's not going to respond to that.
Yeah.
No, Eminem. No, Melly Mel said that about Eminem, said that he would crush him in a battle. The problem is, Melly Mel hasn't been a thing for decades. I mean, he's a legend, and I agree with that, but that don't mean that he stopped doing what he was doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I mean, once you do that, you can't turn it off. You know, that's
Right, but you gotta stay sharp though. Like you can't just, we've seen some of our favorite rappers try to hop in to a battle arena and they were made to look stupid. Like you can't just hop in.
true.
You can't just hop in battle mode and think what you were doing back in 1985 is gonna fly. You know,
Right.
you'll
Right,
be out
right.
there talking about. Ugh.
But I mean, I don't think he'd win. I'm not saying he would win. I don't agree with him.
Right.
Eminem's a different species. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
what he does is incredible. Like, that's incredible.
Yeah.
And he spoke early in his career on how he designed his rhyme structure.
Mm-hmm.
He said he writes down a list of a bunch of words that rhyme,
Mm-hmm.
and then he just writes sentences to fill in the words to connect.
That's crazy.
That shit's crazy. But when you listen to what he does, that's crazy when you think of how he would have to do that.
He's almost
That's
like,
just, but that's
you know,
just a gift, though.
Yeah. It's almost like a Sherlock Holmes of hip hop in a way. Like he just, deductively like finds something that rhymes and makes sense. I mean, that's just an amazing method.
Yeah.
Well,
And there's no one else that does that.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's
In
the
that
interesting
way.
thing. When you think about like what is a gift and what is something that's like a practice thing, it's like
Combination of both.
right, for sure.
I mean,
For
yeah,
sure.
you have to work, work your ass off. I mean, I've realized, when I read about people who are great at anything, I realize sometimes I feel like I'm too lazy and too ADD to ever put in the time to become great at anything. So
Sure.
it definitely requires discipline.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, you've got people like Michael
So
Jordan.
You have the profile of an actor.
Thanks. Yeah, it's true.
You've got people like Michael Jordan who are, putting up 5,000 buckets a day or however many they're putting a day to become great. Then you've got people like Shaquille O'Neal who are like, I don't lift weights. I don't really practice like that. I just kind of do what I do, and he's just naturally gifted. And he's like, I could have put in more time and I could have been greater, but I kind of wanted to spend that time with my family. That's like, you got to respect that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind having just stopped at a Shaquille level and been like, I'm not going to go all the way to an MJ
He's still
level.
the most dominant big man in
Yeah.
history.
Yeah.
And I mean that says something right there. The fact that he was that great anyway. To think that if he had practiced like 10% more. I mean that really says something about just like what an amazing athletic aptitude he has.
I would say too.
Yeah, well, I'm getting the feeling he means a lot more than 10% more. Like
You know
he
who
really
else I
wasn't.
there, dude?
He really wasn't
A lot of people
practicing
would agree with me because he
super
got
hard
injured.
compared to
Our thing.
some others. Like maybe a lot more.
Like, I can't say I can't just wipe out what he did though. You know what I mean? And say that
But yeah, you got to respect it,
Absolutely.
ain't never missed.
especially if you have a family.
Yeah, Graham.
Never really seen the fullness of
I mean, it's kind of that almost makes me think of he's almost a type like Babe Ruth. Like Babe Ruth would go out to speakeasies every night and get drunk and eat hot dogs, and he still was just one of the greatest hitters of all time.
Yeah, that's you got to wonder about that. It's like, okay, like maybe you could just like chill out and keep it to the weekends. Maybe you don't have to hang out every single night.
Yeah, I mean, it did eventually, catch up with him, and obviously, and that combined with being on the road. I mean, he died quite young. He died at 53, so obviously it was not the healthiest way to live.
Yeah. All that money he could have had like a chef chefing him up some nice, healthy, tasty foods
It's true.
that were
Yeah.
that were not hot dogs.
Definitely. But it's funny because I think, there being such a heavy emphasis on nutrition is a relatively recent thing in athletics and in general. I mean, as recently as the 80s, like, I've seen interviews with like Darryl Strawberry or with people on the 86 Mets who talk about, how they would just get drunk and party all night. And then in the clubhouse, this is before the major leagues got into testing for steroids and stuff, or just testing for drugs in general. There would be a spiked pot of coffee that had like uppers in it. Yeah.
Yep. Do a lot.
Performance enhancing drugs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We frown on that?
I mean, yeah. Ever since the steroids scandal in the early 2000s, they've cracked down a lot more. It used to just, I think, kind of just be wide. They just used to widely look the other way, but now it's like, because it potentially damaged the records for like an entire generation of baseball. They started taking it a lot more seriously, and now there's regular drug testing. Because I mean, you just think about the home run era, with Mark McGwire, and how all of those records are kind of sort of suspicious looking at this point. I mean, I think the moment that was really the sea change is when McGwire was testifying before the Senate and just all but admitted it and just kind of broke down.
Or more importantly, when Sylvester Stallone, went on his Rambo 6 or 7 movie, and he was like 64 years old and looking ripped, and got stopped at a foreign airport with steroids, and then it was broken.
Wow.
The veil had been lifted, and we realized our hero wasn't naturally ripped.
Yeah. Aww. like come on, there's you could be healthy at an old age, but nobody is that ripped at 64 without there being something funny going on.
Yeah. Well, I hope we don't find that out about The Rock.
Yeah, that's
I'm smelling what The Rock's cooking.
Have you, on a completely unrelated note, have you been following the Amazon unionization vote at all?
I haven't been following it, but I'm definitely interested.
Because I'm looking, and it's it's unfortunate because there's actually the returns coming in right now that are being tallied and posted on the New York Times website, and it's looking pretty bad actually. I
thought Bezos was such a nice guy.
Oh yeah, sure. He's so generous. He just such a generous, progressive guy that would just love to have a union. Yeah, no, I mean it's I guess it was wrong to get my hopes up too much, but I hope with all these failures, I hope the union organizers at least start to learn from their mistakes and realize if there's anything more they can do to overcome it, because whenever you try to unionize a plant or just a company that has the unlimited resources of Amazon, it's never going to be easy. I mean, they force employees to watch anti-union propaganda on company time, and
that's ridiculous.
So yeah, the unions themselves need to find ways of being shrewder, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm enjoying just reading all of the anti-union stuff that was kind of co-joined with the racist, imperialist, actions of our nation throughout the years, and they were always kind of side by side. And the thing that I forget sometimes, and I'm sure you know this, but like with the whole police, like police not just being agents of racism, but being agents of anti-union, activity. I always forget that sometimes until I'm reading this book. But it's another great example of how we could be riling, people up,
Yeah.
because you forget that there's really a cross section of people who are screwed over by the police, like whether it's like trans folks being screwed over, or you know or certainly union folks being busted by the cops. Every once in a while we see it, like in the uh, in the Occupy Wall Street movement, just like how much they were agents of capitalism, and how willing they were to not even pretend to be, fair.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is true that, like, a lot of different people who come into are victimized, are harassed by the police. And I think that, at a primal level, like anybody who's just had, negative experiences with them, at a primal level, that can be, sort of a gateway to recognize how much the system is stacked against you. Like when, you've been raised your whole life to think, we live in a free country where you can agitate for change, and then you go to a protest and you find out you're risking your life, and you realize it's not true. I mean, that is, I think, a moment that leads a lot of people to wake up and realize how much the deck is just stacked against them.
Yeah. I'm excited about a new book I have. I haven't started it yet because, I just haven't started it yet. But I got this book, We Will Shoot Back, that I've been talking about getting for a while. And it was written by someone I met in Mississippi, who's like, a radical in Mississippi, and friends with Chokwe Lumumba.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, this book. He wrote it back in 2013, a few years before I actually met him. But it's about the resistance down south in the Mississippi Freedom Movement, and it challenges the idea of, black folks just being meek, um, anti-violent folks who aren't afraid to, like, pick up arms in their fight against white supremacy.
That sounds really, like an interesting book. Did he like interview a lot of people who were there, like in the 60s and stuff?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's he got into the Black Panther movement and stuff, so he's got a lot of he knows a lot of folks in the movement, so I'm sure there's quite a bit of a background here.
That sounds really interesting. And yeah, I think that's an important history that a lot of people need to recognize. I mean, so much of what we know about the civil rights era has sort of been sanitized to fit neatly into, like a liberal education.
Yeah. On another note, just skipping around a little bit, I was watching a video that was kind of challenging and educating on where some of the model minority myths came from, and in particular with Asian folks. And they were talking about how, at one point they kind of like started restricting which Asian folks could come in, and it was like very restrictive to, like, certain like doctors and this and that. So it was like actually a negative thing, restricting who could come in, but they started using Asian folks against other minorities, like black folks, saying, see, like, look how well they're doing without any handouts. Like, why can't you be more like them? And it just became this this like propaganda program that they actually started. It was actually a targeted, thing.
Yeah,
they
that's
kinda
that's a
together.
very fairly common sort of racist dog whistle that I've heard for years from conservatives.
Mm.
Yeah, that's interesting. I had not heard of this. This is a video you watched or
Yeah,
a book? Okay,
a video. Yeah.
And I
I
think
hadn't.
I think what we're seeing now is that the whole model minority myth, it only lasts as long as it's politically convenient, because in the past year you've seen such an ugly rise in xenophobia on the right and it becoming acceptable. I mean, it's kind of similar to what happened to Muslim Americans after 9/11, because prior to 9/11 most Muslims actually tended to vote Republican and were probably seen by conservatives as like another example of a model minority.
Mm. Yeah, and the other thing is, I think they were saying that Asian folks are actually, their poverty rates are actually lower than the lower than the than the average, the overall average of Americans. So it's not a true myth. But what it does is it actually prevents people from getting help that they need. Like oftentimes in school, you know, they might just get ignored, and there might just be an assumption that they can do without help. You know, being
Yeah,
that they're seen as smarter.
I mean, it's kind of similar to anti-Semitism in a sense, where anti-Semitism is partly motivated by the idea that Jews are more successful, and then it's tied to all these conspiracy theories, and it's very similar with Asian Americans, and actually both groups are sort of examples of groups that have been used as model minority, quote unquote. And yeah, I think because of that, it just goes to show how different bigotries operate in different ways.
Yeah, it's whatever's convenient or whatever can be used by the oppressor or the person wielding it at the
Yeah.
time.
Oh, we have less than a minute left.
Oh, okay. We'll punch back in.
Yeah, I'm down.
All right.
I'm
I'm
gonna take
actually
like a 20-minute break and then jump back in.
Okay.
all right. I'm actually gonna have to go because I'm expecting a call in a minute that I have scheduled. But it was
Okay.
great talking to all of you,
Yeah.
and
Good talking
this
to you,
was
KD. Can you hop back in 20 minutes?
a pleasure. And I hope hopefully I'll get to see some of you again tomorrow night if possible.
Definitely. Yeah, I look forward to it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be down.
All right. Take care.
Yeah, I'm good for 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay. Cool.
All right.